Did you try fish slapping with the Guardian Angel? Oh yeah, I should do that as well. What? What's up, you filthy vermin? Epic here, and welcome back to a new video on the channel. Today we're going to be showing off my Facemelter Moze build for endgame, level 72, Mayhem 11. You can do whatever you want with it. You can take it to a family reunion, you can put it next to your grandma on a deathbed, do whatever you want. This build slaps. I mean, I'm just telling you, it slaps. As always, you little shits, the skill tree is on screen now. Copy it down into your game, because plagiarism's the name. Or you can go into the description if you're on PC, and you can download the save. You can put it in your game and yeah, you just steal from me. You know, go for it, you heartless monster. The build we're showing off today is a melee build. And this is something that has been done on Moze before, but I don't think it's quite been done the way I'm showing it off today. Because there are some little tricks up my sleeve with this. Probably not. I've got to do something to get in the algorithm. Fuck, man. God. Right, that's it. No more waiting. Now that you've had time to look at the skill tree, let's get into the gear for this build. And I just want to say first and foremost, before we do, this build is absolutely dirty. Now, I will say, when I was making this build, I did not think it would top spam cannon. I thought this was going to be just a build that I would make, put out, and that's about it. But this might be my new favorite Moze build. This is really, really strong. Now, getting into the gear for the build, first things first, we of course have a face puncher. Now, for me, I have got a redundant face puncher, and there's a good reason for this. In my testing with this build with the face puncher, there is no difference between a redundant face puncher and a deep size or deep diving or deep pussy penetration face puncher. There is no difference. I can't tell a difference. However, I will say that with the anoint that we've picked here being the killing an enemy grants, you know, all the kill stacking anoint, with this anoint, I believe that the redundant face puncher is the best one to go for if you're using this anointment. If you don't want to use this anointment and you want to use URAD, then by all means go with another face puncher that isn't redundant. This is my personal preference, okay? So remember that. I don't want the Twitter or Reddit warriors shitting their pants, pulling their tampon out and then throwing it against the wall like a dead frog. Trust me, this is just personal preference. You can pick what you want. The next item we have is going to be very, very, very important for the build. It's the fucking Guardian Angel, boys, yeah! If you don't know what this perfectly balanced gun is, it basically makes it so that while you're holding it and you chuck a grenade or pretty much deal any damage, it's going to get up to 500% damage based on distance. This is what's going to allow us to get the crazy fucking Hemovorous kills that you see me doing on screen right now. Like, this is the secret right here. You're not going to be able to do that with the face puncher. The face puncher is all about mobbing. That's for Malwan. You're running through a mobbing area, use the face puncher. But the Guardian Angel comboed with the fish slap is what's going to give us crazy massive damage. So moving on from there, we're going down into our little trinkets and shields and whatnot. The first thing I've got for my shield is a pick which not a lot of people are going to expect, I think. It's the Brawler Ward. Now, I know there are multiple imitations of this kind of Moze build. Some people like to use an Impaler, some use a Stinger, some even use a Void Rift, some use a Super Soldier. For me personally, I love the Brawler Ward with this build. I've tried a lot of different shields with it, but the Brawler Ward is the one for me. I love the effects that you get while it's depleted. I love the effects you get while it's up. If you can get a 300% melee Brawler Ward, absolutely run it on the build. Now, I will say that I've also got a level 1 that I will include in the build. Now, the reason why I don't have the level 1 Brawler Ward equipped is because this build is very, very squishy. So I need all the shield capacity I can get. And in the event that it goes down, I'm going to have all of those bonuses. And I know the YouTube warriors are like, hey, Epic, you know, I'm better at making builds than you. So I'm just going to inform you that you're really not benefiting from the Brawler. I know. If you don't care about going down a lot or taking a lot of damage and having to have a lot of upkeep with your life still, then by all means go with the level 1 Brawler Ward. But for me, it's got to be the level 72 Chief, and we'll talk about that more later. Next up, we have the Flare. This is a con which not a lot of people would run with melee builds, but for me, I think it works. I like to have my Iron Cub up. I love to have my Iron Cub dealing damage. So for me personally, having the Flare com on, also buffing my damage on the face puncher, really, really, really handy. Now, if you don't want the Flare, you can use something like, I suppose, a Blastmaster or a Minesweeper would work really, really well with the build. But moving down into our grenade choice, of course, we're using using the fish slap. For me, I'm using the team building fish slap because it's going to give our shield back whenever it deals damage, which is very, very nice for me. And I've got the on grenade throwing anoint to buff all of our weapon, grenade, and action skill damage. This is again just going to boost all of our damage globally. And moving into the backpack, you'll see that I've got quite a few fish slaps. I've got a rogue Nagata in there, but I've got a bunch of fish slaps, pretty much every element in here. If you can get every element, go for it. The ones you're probably going to be using the most is a cryo and a rad one. Cryo is definitely going to be the power play because of our skill choices in the purple tree. For our artifact choice, we've got the static charges with the stone prefix. This is very, very important because having that prefix is going to give us a bunch of bonus damage on melee, which is going to mean that we're basically always getting bonus damage, right? But if that wasn't enough, the static charge, which we spoke about on the channel before with my fish fillet flak build, link in the description if you haven't checked that out, the static charge suffix is busted. Like straight up busted. So whenever you do melee damage, it's just going to result in crazy high chain damage. So we paired the two together for what is a fusion of damage, damage, and damage. I mean, I've got fucking Moxie squirting over in the corner. It's ridiculous. And again, I've got one of every element in the build should you want to download the save. And yeah, again, you probably are going to want cryo or rad, but we've got all of them in the backpack just in case you want to switch them out on the fly. Now, a few minutes ago, I was talking about how this build is very, very squishy. And unfortunately, that's just the side effect you're going to have when you're running a melee build. There's really not much you can do, though I did try my best to remedy it in the build. For example, the YouTube comment build gods are probably going to be telling me how I shouldn't expect Vladoff ingenuity, but I did it simply for the added survivability. Again, if this is something which you don't need and you're like, I'm the fucking best Moze player ever, take the points out of Vladoff ingenuity, take them into the blue tree, and in the blue tree, get yourself to the last. To the last is a solid skill, and it's something I'd recommend for this build 100%. My first instinct was to give myself more points into Vampire, but unfortunately, that's just not going to make too much of a difference when you're getting absolutely just derailed by enemies. If you're getting health gated, this isn't going to save you all that much. Now, another skill that I was tempted to spec in this build, but I did not, was Scrappy. Now, if I'd had the points to do it, then yes, I would have picked it, but unfortunately, I did not. I'm sure a lot of you already know that I'm a big fan of this skill, but some people aren't, which is, I guess, a good thing that I didn't spec it, but I love this skill, and if you got the extra points, you don't want to spend it in Vladoff ingenuity, then by all means, go and spec Scrappy. Yeah, it's really good, what can I say? But I think some of the biggest power plays in this build is going to be the spec into superior firepower. This is going to give you absolutely crazy amounts of cryo damage. If you don't know, the skill has a weird interaction. I'm sure Moxie's got a video up on that on his channel. And if you don't want to use the baby nukes augment for your cub because it's constantly blowing up barrels next to you and killing you like it does to me all the time, then you can run something like the My Little Friend augment. That's a really nice one as well. The one thing I will say though is don't go and spec efficiency engine. It is just not worth it. This skill caps out at 100 stacks, and since you get 0.5% gun damage per second, it's going to take you over a minute of having your cub up just to have your extra 50% gun damage. Just not worth it. But in summary, you little shits, this build is fucking insane, and I do want to give a quick shout out to Psychotic Wolf and Mad Glenny for the helps here and there. I will leave a link to their stuff in the description if you want to go and check them out. Though I will say, this was a completely unique idea of mine, so give me some credit, you little Kumas. I mean, this is really an epic NNG build. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this build. I'm gonna have some gameplay on screen right now as I ramble on, showing you just more insane stuff that this thing can do. I mean, it really doesn't struggle with anything in the game. I haven't run into a scenario where this build hasn't been able to take a boss down or been able to take a mobbing scenario down, so hopefully you guys have success with it as well. One thing I will say before we end off is that we don't run the white elephant just because it's not really all that worth it, and the time it's going to take for the stickies to detonate, you're probably going to end up downing. And yeah, maybe El Guapo Zane's coming soon, who knows, you little bastards. But be sure to subscribe to the channel because we're doing a PS5 giveaway at 68,000 subs. And with that being said, thank you boys for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.